Hi everyone, welcome to the exercise for Module 1 of the Education Cluster's Coordination Core Skills Pre-Training Package. I hope you've had a chance to review Module 1 already and have given this exercise a try on your own. Instructions for the exercise can be found at the bottom of the Module 1 document, which is in this Module 1 folder we've provided you. And if you open up this document here, you'll see something like this. These are the lessons that will show you the skill set for this exercise, so feel free to go through that. And at the very bottom, you'll see the directions for this exercise that we'll do now together. If you haven't had a chance yet to go through these lessons and this exercise, go ahead and pause the video and give it a try first on your own. So the purpose of this exercise is to learn how to take information or data from a Word document, such as a cluster contact list, and bring it into an Excel file in such a way that you can easily access the information and even manipulate it or analyze it or filter it or sort it. So that's what we're going to do now. If you look into the Module 1 folder and click on the exercise folder, there is a document with a terrible file name called Participant List Old New Version 4 Final Draft. If you open that, that's where we're going to get started with this exercise. One reason I like this exercise is because on almost every deployment I've done for the education cluster, when I've arrived in country, I've been handed a cluster contact list that looks something similar to this. It's hideous, it's difficult to read the information, and this happens very, very often. So this is the information that we want to bring over into an Excel file. So the first thing we'll do then after opening the participant list is go ahead and open up a blank workbook in Excel. And we want to first copy the contents here. So first we can select it by clicking here. And you can copy up here or simply do Control C. If we come back over to our file, we can paste that information here. Now if I do Control V or just press paste, you can see that all of the ugly formatting that existed from the Word document is also brought over to the Excel file. And that's not what we want. So if we click on the arrow underneath the paste option, you can see some additional paste options. And this one is to keep the source formatting, but if we look at the one to the right, it says match destination formatting. And you can see that it can bring over the values then without all of the ugly formatting from the Word document. So that's the one we want. So that's step 2 in the exercise instructions. Now for step 3, it says that we should adjust all column widths appropriately so that we can read the data. So adjusting column widths, as you've probably seen in the lessons of this module, we have the columns at the top, A, B, C, and D. If we move our cursor immediately between two letters, two columns, you can see how it changes to that double-headed arrow. So one way to change columns is manually clicking on that line between two columns, and then you can expand or you can decrease the column width. I'm extremely lazy, however, and I don't like to do one of these numbers where I'm constantly trying to find the correct widths. So to avoid this, what you can simply do is hover your mouse between two columns and double click. And that will give you the exact correct width that you're looking for based on the data in that column. Now, that means that I can do that one at a time, like this, or if I select all columns with the data, and on any of these lines in between the two columns, I can double click and it will expand all of the columns to exactly the correct width that I like. So that's how you expand. That's step number 3, expanding the column widths appropriately. Step 4 is now to format our data as a table. Now that we have something that resembles a list, a correct participant list, we want to put this into a table. I love Excel tables. I'm a nerd like that. If we go to Insert, you can click now on Table. And this now is going to, essentially it's grouping our data into a unique table. What this dialog box is saying is, where is the data for your table? Which data do you want to be included? You'll see when I clicked on the table button, these marching ants are now coming around my data. Excel is really smart, and it is thinking this is the information that I want, and it is in fact correct. However, There's another line here that says my table has headers. Now a header row, as you learned from the lessons, is the row that immediately precedes your data. So in fact, my data does have a header row. The name, the email, these are the titles of the columns for my data. If I click OK without selecting that my table has, in fact, does have headers, what we'll see is that it provides new headers for me, column 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's not what I want. So let's undo that. Go back to Insert and press Table. Shortcut is Control-T. Now I say, yes, my table does have headers. And we can see that I have this beautiful table with these beautiful colors and nice, wonderful headers. Isn't that wonderful? Now, I really do like blue. I like this quite a bit. However, if you don't like blue and you want to change the color, you can do that on the Design tab over here. You know data is in a table when it has this Table Tools option. If you click outside of that, you'll see that the Table Tools option has disappeared. So clicking inside the table will bring up your Table Tools and your Design tab, and over here you have your table styles. And so here you can scroll through and pick whatever table style you like. And you notice when I click on each one of these, the style will change over here. Now I will go to, I like this one here. So here we've got now our table. That was step 4 and 5. Step 6 of this exercise says to add a column with the title sex and another column with the title Skype. One reason I like tables is that they are, like Excel, very, very smart. If I come over here to column F and I want to add a column to my table, I can simply type the word sex, press enter, and the table automatically increases. It goes for rows as well. If I type my name here and press enter, you can see that it's been expanded. So let's undo that now. So we have sex now. We added that column. Let's say, however, that I don't want to just add the column Skype here in column G, but in fact I wanted to put Skype in between columns B and C. To do that, I click here on column C to select it, and I can press Insert. And that's inserted a new column called column 1. And now I can click there and just type the word Skype. So now I've added those two columns from step 6. Step 7 says to rearrange all the columns to a specific order: name, sex, country, organization, role, email. Now, there are a couple of ways of doing this. One is to, for example, we want to name and then organization. We can click here on B, do our insert, select the organization data, copy it, and paste it. Those are Control-C and Control-V shortcuts. Then come back to our column and delete it. Now that's 5 steps, I think it was, in order to move that column just over after name. Again, I'm extremely lazy. I don't like the extra steps. And so what we're going to do instead is learn how to simply move a column. If we select the column organization that we want to move after name, and you can see that there's this black box around it. If I put my cursor, watch carefully, if I put my cursor over the box, you can see it changes. When it becomes that crosshair type of cursor, I can now click that box and start moving the column. However, if you can see that it's a box, it's moving the entire column. If I let go over column B, because I want it here next to name, it says there's already data here. Do you want to replace it? Basically, it's copying and pasting over the email column, and that's definitely not what I want to do. So I'm going to cancel that. The trick here then is to click and move, but instead of just I'm pressing and holding the mouse button this entire time. Instead of letting go of the mouse button now, I'm going to press and hold the shift button. And you can see now it becomes sort of a T. And that's where it's going to insert. I can move the T, and instead of pasting over the top, it can insert. So I'm still holding the mouse button, I'm still holding shift. I move the T after A, so after name I want to insert, and while still holding shift, I'm going to release the mouse button, and now I can release shift. And so you can see it's a really great trick for quickly manipulating your data and moving around your columns within your database. So let's do it again. So we wanted, what was the order? Name, oh, I made a mistake. We want name, sex, country, and then organization. So name, let's take our sex column and let's move it over. Press Shift while holding the mouse button. And now I'm going to let go of the mouse button, and now I let go of Shift. So name, sex, country, again, Shift, let go, and then it was organization, role, email, and Skype. So now I'm just going to move role. And there we have it. So we have our name, sex, country, org, role, email very quickly by using the click, drag, and the shift button. Step 8. Now we want to learn how to freeze the pane so that you can see the various columns and rows as you scroll. So often, if I scroll down, I can lose the header rows and the formatting that I want. In this case, I can still see the header rows just because it's been formatting it as a table. But if I scroll to the right, I lose column A and I can't see the person's name. So let's say that we do want to in fact see those. There's a couple ways of freezing our panes. This is done in the View tab, Freeze Panes option. If I click on the freeze top row and I scroll down, I can see that in fact it did freeze that header row, which is great. But if I scroll to the right, I lose the name. If I go to freeze panes and freeze first column and I scroll to the right, that's great. I keep the name. I can still see Ashling, for example. However, if I scroll down, I lose that header row. So what if I want both? What if I want to be able to freeze both rows and columns at the same time? This is done, I'm going to unfreeze that, in the Freeze Panes option here. Now, this sounds a little complicated, but it's not. Basically, whatever cell I have selected, when I click Freeze Panes, wherever my cursor is, so for example, here my cursor is in D5, here, if I freeze the panes here, it will freeze everything above D5 and everything to the left of D5. So let's try it. If I'm in D5, which isn't exactly where I want to freeze it, but just for the sake of this example, and I freeze panes, when I scroll down, we can see that those top 4 rows have in fact been frozen. And if I scroll to the right, A, B, and C, the first 3 columns, have been frozen. So let's unfreeze that. Now, obviously, the cells that, or the columns and rows that I want to see when I scroll around is this one and this one, column A and row 1. So I need to select this cell here, which is B2, so that everything above it, row 1, and everything to the left of it, column A, will be frozen. There we have it. So if I scroll to the right, I can still see all of the names. And if I scroll down, I can still see all of the header rows. Okay, that's freezing panes. If you don't like it, you can just click here and unfreeze them again. But that makes reading your data very easy. Now we're going to learn how to sort. Now, there's a couple ways of sorting. If you look here, when we created our table, these little drop downs, these little arrow buttons, they're not drop downs, they're filter buttons, were automatically displayed. Those can be controlled here on the Home tab, the Editing group, Filter. You can see it's already been applied. If I click that again, I've now removed the filters, but I always like to have my filters on. These are for manipulating, sorting, filtering the data. So once the filters are applied, and you can see the little filter buttons with the down arrows, you can then choose how you want to both filter and sort. We'll get to filtering in a second, but if I wanted to sort my data alphabetically by people's names, I can click there and I can sort it alphabetically. And then we just click that and we can see that the arrow has now changed to an up arrow, and we know that column is the one that's controlling the order of the data. If I click on it again, I can also do it in reverse alphabetical order. I can also do it by country. Now, if we look at, for example, look at global. We see the global entries start with Risto, then go to Katie, and all the way down to Adish. What if we want to do a double sort? We want to first sort by the country location, and following that, we want not only it to appear in alphabetical order this way, we also want the names here to be in alphabetical order. This is possible by doing a custom sort. So we go over here to our sort, filter sort option, and instead of clicking on the filter here, we can go to custom sort. Now you can see we've already sorted by country, and so the dialog box says, okay, we have our first level by country that's done alphabetically, and in this case we want to add a second level of sorting, and so once we've sorted by country, then we want to sort by individuals' names, and we want that to be alphabetical as well. We press OK, and you can see that here we have those globals again, and now Adish is at the top. This is name, of course, begins with an A, and Risto's at the bottom. So we've done a double sort here. Again, this is used, I use it a lot when I'm sharing databases with partners so that they can easily read and access the information. Okay, we're almost finished. Step 10 is to filter the data. So in the same place where we can do these single sorts, we also have all of this information at the bottom, which is how to filter. So if I wanted to see only the participants coming from the global level, we can click on global and we see the global level participants. Now, if I wanted to remove that filter, I can click on it again and press clear filter from country, or I can select all, or there's about 10 ways of clearing your filters. I can come over here and click clear. A word of warning, sometimes I receive databases and I'll do an analysis on that database and realize only after that I was looking at only partial data because I had received it with filters applied. So whenever you receive an Excel file with these filters, I encourage you to remove all the filters before looking at the data so that you don't miss anything. But what's the step for exercise? Step to filter the data so that you are only viewing cluster coordinators. So if you were asked who are the cluster coordinators who are going to potentially be participating in this training, we can come to the role column, click on the filter, and currently everything is selected. If you want to deselect everything, click the select all button and then come to the coordinator. We press OK, and we can see that, great, these are all of the coordinators. I think that's probably good for now. The last thing to do, of course, good practice, would be to save our file. So to save, you can go to File, Save As, here, and then select your place. I really like the shortcut key, which is F12. Press F12. Let's go to our desktop where we had our Module 1 folder. For naming convention, you should always give a short title that explains what your document is, such as participant list. And then a good practice is to always put an inverted date. So today's date, for example, where I am is 15th of August. It's the 28th. So the 28th of August, 2015. We can talk about that, why that needs to be the case in the training, but this will organize your documents very well. Press save, and now we've saved our file. Hope you've enjoyed the exercise. Feel free to go through it again on your own to make sure that you have this skill set down. We'll see you for Module 2.